Hello everybody out there in Flosstube world. This is Vicki, aka the Virginia Stitcher, coming to you with my Flosstube video number 33. It's only been a week. It's only been a week. I'm so proud of myself. I wanted to hop on here and go over kind of my end of the year, a little bit of stats. I don't keep count of stitches or anything like that. I also wanted to come on here and show you just a little bit of my goals and a event that I'm going to take place in on New Year's Eve day. So I'm sitting downstairs with the other Christmas tree. This is what I call my traditional Christmas tree. This one has ornaments that have been collected through the years, some baubles that have been purchased, some homemade gifts, my kids, and pictures of my children, grandkid ornaments and things like that are all over this tree. So this is my traditional. I don't think in this shot you can see any of this was the one my daughter had given me and my husband our first Christmas together. So that one commemorates that. And my mom and dad had given me this Hallmark one that says to a daughter. So I have, and that was years and years and years ago. This one's probably 30 years ago. My parents gave me that one. So I got my hair cut. So I'm still working with it, trying to figure out what I want to do with it. So, and I decided to be festive today. I put on a Christmas sweater, the only one I have, and I wore some little, fun snowflake earrings. So got my little snowflake earrings on and my Christmas sweater. I'll probably wear this on Christmas morning when all the grandkids are here and we're opening gifts. So I wanted to hop on here now. I know there's only a couple of weeks. There's still maybe a couple-ish weeks. Today is December 15th, 16th. Not real sure. I have to look at my phone. Let me grab it. It is December 15th. So this is Thursday, December 15th. And what I wanted to do was, like I said, come on here and kind of give you a little bit of a update of what I am planning for New Year's, my kind of little bit of goals, plans for next year. I'm not doing a whole lot of goals and plans because I know that I fail at those. I'm not really good at sticking with my goals. But just trying to give you guys an update on all of that and a little bit of numbers that I have. So first of all, I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're stumbling across this is a video about cross stitch. This is pretty much cross stitch is mostly what I show. If you can hear a noise, my little dog, one of them, is sitting here chewing on her paws. Stop, Molly. Stop chewing your paws. She does that a lot, and I've tried so many things for her, and nothing seems to work. She just loves to chew at herself. When she's not sleeping, she seems to be chewing at her paws and scratching at herself, and we've tried all kinds of stuff, different shampoos, different stuff to put in her diet. I don't know. She's even on allergy meds. Don't know what to do with her. She's just crazy. You my crazy girl? She decided since I'm sitting here on the floor, she wants to hang out with me, but she's right over here. So hopefully she'll stay quiet and not bark. So I wanted to welcome you all. I digressed again. I'm going to be all over the place, I guess. I wanted to also thank you in your comments. You guys have been so kind to me. You guys are the greatest. You are my stitchy friends. You just lift me up, and it is so wonderful. In today's day and time when, so many people can be mean, and I love to see that people choose kindness. I try to choose kindness, and I'm glad that you all do too. And I think the world needs much more of that. So you gonna step on my stitching? Yes, you are. I kind of blocked her in over here. Let me give her a little space to walk by if she wants to leave. You're just gonna sit there and stare at me, aren't you? You want to come over here and say hi? Probably not. She always has hair sticking up in her face. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Come here. I'm not going to hurt you. Come here. She's like, what are you doing? This is Molly. She's always the crazy. She's my little Yorkie Maltese mix. She went to the groomer a couple of weeks ago. You can't tell it now because she's always, I call her my scruffy pup. So she got her Christmas bandana. It's got little puppies and Christmas trees on it. But she's my little high maintenance one. She's always got a crazy face. Her hairs always want to stick up in her eyeballs and things like that. She's the high maintenance one. She's like, yeah, let me down. She's like a cat. She's like, I'll decide when I want to cuddle with you or not. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is my whip progress. What I've been working on the past week since I last spoke with you guys. And what I was doing, I was working on finishing my whip go board, and I did. I finished a couple of weeks early. Yeah, I have a complete blackout. Last year, I got maybe half of it done. This year, I finished it. I got a complete blackout. I'm so proud of myself. So the last 3 pieces were the last 3 that I needed to do to finish this, my goals on my whip go board. So I needed to do at least 10 hours on the last 3 pieces. So that's what I had done. I had picked up Santa of the Forest by Lavender and Lace. It looks like this. I am stitching this one on a 16 count Sage Summer Khaki fabric, an Aida, 16 count Aida. And I am using all of the called for DMCs, and I also have the gold that's in his staff. I guess is what you would call that he's holding. So I worked at least, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours. My goal is 10 hours. It's going to be a little hard to see because I had to roll it up a little bit. But this is where he is. Hold a piece of paper behind here. And what I had done was I had told you guys that my goal was to try to get this bunny in. So I pretty much have the bunny done except for the eye, a little bit of back stitching here. And I'm missing a few stitches in his ear. And then I came over and I worked some more on this red cape coming down on the side. So this is where I am on the Santa of the Forest by Lavender and Lace. I had a commenter say that her and her husband were watching and they thought that I would not have my margins. I might need to recount. So I did. And this is an 18-inch length of fabric. And I think the width of it is just under 13 inches. So that leaves me a little over 5 inches, which will leave me a 2.5 inch border. And right now I have about 3.5. And I think the cape part only comes about this much far over. So I'll still have enough of a margin. Because if you look here on his cape, I've done this part. So all that's left on this part, the farthest over, is just a little bit more because I've done this section here. Kind of hard to see. So there's a darker little part that comes out. So it'll come out a little bit farther over, maybe, you know, another 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And then the same thing over on the other side, because I started a center start. So it should end about over here. What's left? This bit here that's open starts the dove that's flying. And the dove goes over a part of his cape. So I'm guessing it'll come out to about here. And then I'll have, you know, I should have 2.5 inches on the other side. My husband saw me stitching this and he goes, ooh, I like that. So he liked the bear. And he asked me the other night when I was stitching on something else, and I'm going to show you in a minute. He said, are you still stitching on the same one? I said, no, I switched, you know, so I think he really likes this one. So he'll probably like when this one gets finished and we can hang it on the wall. But that is that whip go progress on my Santa of the Forest. And then I pulled up and I was working on, my next goal was my my Village of Hawk Run, but I'm calling it my Villages / Houses of Hawk Run. And the block that I was working on was this Opal's boarding house. But I have the villages, I had showed you last time, I have the villages and the houses. And I am mishmashing them together. I am doing this. So I have picked, I still have the Opal's boarding house here, the block that I was working on. But I have switched in 5 different of the blocks for the houses and got rid of some of the blocks in the village that has a lot of the words on it. I didn't want to do this block, I think this one, this 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and the cemetery. I wasn't going to put the cemetery in. So I came in and my goal was 10 hours on the block that I was working on. And I was so close to a finish, I just worked another 5 or 6 hours and finished it. Finished the block. So the whole piece, I had gridded this one all in. So this one is all ready. I am using the called for DMCs. So as you can see, I have all 12 of the blocks gridded in, ready to just fill in. And this is on a piece of coloring cotton, 16 count Aida in the color aged paper. That's when I'm stitching this one on. And I'm going to show you closer up what I was doing. So I'm glad I've got, my goal was to try to finish at least one block in this one, and I did. And this, sorry. Let me try to get the wrinkles out there, the fold. But this is where I am. This is where I got to. I finished that block. The only thing I did not put in that block is there are 2 dogs that are standing up on the fence that I had to really look at it and try to decide, what is that? What are those? Are those people? Are those dogs? But in the instructions, it says for the dog's tongues to use a back stitch. So it obviously must be dogs. Let me see if I could show it up closer. But it didn't look like dogs to me. So I don't know. I'm leaving them off for now. And they may stay left off. Let me pull it out. Let's see if I can show it to you real close up. This right here. It kind of looked kind of weird. And I was kind of like, are those birds, people, dogs? I didn't know what they were. So I just, they're supposed to be dogs. And I was kind of not feeling them. So those might get left off. Let me put all this aside. So I met that goal, got that block done. And then the last piece that I've been working on this past week was my, the last one on my whip go that I needed to get some more work done on. And I needed at least 10 hours on this one. And I think I did a little more. I might have been done about 12. And hopefully it doesn't glare too badly. But it's the Teresa Kogut's Heaven in Nature sampler. And I've been working up in here. I have not worked my way down to that big house yet. I do want to work my way down to that big house because what I want to probably do is do a little of it, do some other stuff. Do a little of it, do some other stuff. Because that is a big house, lots of fill-in. And sometimes when I have pieces that have a lot of fill-in, I like to piecemeal it. I don't like to sit there for hours and hours and hours and just do fill-in because I'll get bored. But this one is being stitched on. I am using the called for overdyes. I think all of the overdyes for this one. And this one is a Fortnite fabric, 32 count Lugana, and the color Caravan Tan. And this is my progress. So what I was able to get done on this one, the lights are shining through from the Christmas tree a little bit. Let me put that piece of paper there. Is I came in, well, I finished filling in this much of the border. I just had the wavy vine. So I did all the leaves and the little flower buds. I did this part of the alphabet, the VWXYZ. I did the bunny rabbit. This motif I still have to finish putting a beak and feet on this bird and the center of this flower and put this other bird in. And this is the tail feathers of a bird. And I started that. So I basically was working kind of over in here and got all that filled in. I think I did a little bit filled in this flower. If I had, sometimes when I have leftover of a color on my needle still, I'll come over and just fill in somewhere because there's not that many colors in this piece. I think there might be maybe 12 colors. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, 12 colors. So that's not a lot. And I lied. I am using all of the called fors. I thought I did switch out something, except for where it called for, and it might just been because the overdyes sometimes can change when they're being dyed through the years. But for my Joshua tree, I switched in porpoise. It's Weeks Dye Works Joshua tree. I switched in porpoise because on my Joshua tree looked really kind of a browny kind of color, and I wanted a gray color because where it's used, here we go, is also on this raccoon here, and I didn't want my raccoon to be brown, like a kind of a greeny brown color. So I switched it because it looks to me like it's supposed to be more of a gray color. So I switched in Weeks Dye Works porpoise for Joshua tree. But otherwise I'm using all of the called for colors for this one. So I met all 3 of my whip go goals that I needed to finish. I think I had a few hours on each of these before the week, and I just needed to finish them out. So that's what I did. Set those all aside, get those all out of the way. So that's what I've been busy with stitching wise the last week. And then I wanted to go over with you guys, between Instagram and Flosstube, I've heard about an event that's going on for New Year's Day. Kia B and Pam Schaffner from Just Keep Stitching, she's PG Soap on Instagram, are hosting an event called, the hashtag is going to be NYE12x12. So it's New Year's Eve 12 by 12. So what they're going to do is, they did it last year, and it's where you start 12 new projects for, in the 12 hours leading up to midnight, starting at noon and ending at midnight, whatever your time zone is. So that by midnight, you've worked an hour on 12 things, 12 starts. But they said that they're going to make it more inclusive this year, where people can do new starts, or they can work on 12 whips. And I am doing like Stephanie from Just Keep Stitching. I didn't want to do 12 new starts because that was a lot of starts, since I already have a lot of things going at the time already. So I wanted to do 6 new starts and 6 whips. So I have picked my 6 new starts and my 6 whips out, and I got them all ready, and they're in a basket. So I will put this by my stitching chair when the day comes, when New Year's Eve day is here, and stitch on these. So the first thing I'm going to stitch on at noon is going to be a new start. And I'm not going to take all of these out of plastic. I'm going to see if I can get them not to glare too much. But this is Barbara Anna's Let It Snow. Looks like this. And I have picked out a piece of fabric. I pulled the DMCs. I had the bobbins in my extra DMC stash, if you saw what I did with all of my fabrics. And this isn't the color I'm going to use. I am going to use this. I have to put my glasses on to read this little tag on it. This one is a 32 count Azure Blue by, it's a Lugana, and it's by Zweigart. And I'm going to do it on this because I thought all of the snowflakes and things would look really pretty on this blue fabric. And these colors would just pop off of there. So that is going to be my first new start for New Year's Eve day. And then, so that'd be December 31st, New Year's Eve day. Then I'm going to, at the next hour, 1 o'clock, I'm going to work on a whip. And the whip I chose is Kringles by Country Cottage Needleworks, right? Is it Country? Little House Needleworks. Little House Needleworks, Kringles. I started this a couple of years ago, doing this one on a an amber Ada, 16 count Ada. This is one of the stiffer Adas. I started it a couple of years ago. So like I said, I'm trying to get away from the stiff Ada. And by the way, I did get some tips to, people were saying I wash mine, I iron it with some steam, things like that. Molly, hold on. Stop scratching your ear, baby. Stop. And I did that. I took a bunch of my stiff Adas that I have in my stash and I soaked them. I threw them in the washing machine, let them wash, threw them in the dryer, let them dry. They felt a little softer when they were wet, but then when they dried, they felt stiff again. Not as stiff, but still stiff. Then I ironed them with a little steam because they were all wrinkled and I had strings hanging everywhere. I mean, even when the ones that I had kind of serged, I had a bunch of strings. So I was cutting off strings, and I think I'm going to try to over dye those. Those might be some that this coming year I might try to play around and over dye some of those and see how that turns out. But anyways, this one's on a piece of 16 count amber Ada. Is it amber? I'm second guessing myself. And I am stitching this with the DMCs. And this is how far I am on this one so far. So I'm going to pull this one up on New Year's Eve day and work on it somewhere. I don't know if I'm going to do some more brickwork or some more roof work. Either going to be working on a roof or laying some brick, probably, on this one. An hour's not going to get me too far, but I'll pick it up and work on it a little bit more and see how much farther I can get. And I'm sure I'll work on it some this winter too. But that is my second piece that I want to work on. So that's a whip. And then the next one is going to be a new start, because I'm going to do new start whip, new start whip. So this one's another new start. And let me take it out of the bag. No, baby, don't start barking. No. Sorry about the crinkling. This one is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs. I had gotten this and kitted it up back in September at Salty Yarns. And a lot of people, I mean, this isn't new. This one's been out for maybe a few years, couple of years. So a lot of people have stitched this or been stitching on this. And I just think it's really pretty. So I picked out, to work on this one, I kitted it with the over-dyed thread. So they're Weeks Dye Works. These are the colors. And I picked out a piece of 28 count Lugana in the color Wheat by To Dye For Fabrics. So this is my fabric choice. And To Dye For Fabrics, I ordered this off of Etsy. You can go to dye, D-Y-E, for fabrics on Etsy if you wanted to order any of hers. This is a beautiful piece of fabric, so I can't wait to work on this one. So that's another start for New Year's Eve day. And then my next whip is a piece that if I just concentrate on it a little bit, I could get this one finished. This is Baby It's Cold Outside by Heartstring Samplery. Looks like this. Again, another one that a lot of people have been working on. I never finished it. I'm going to try really hard when I go stitching in the words to remember to put the apostrophe for it's, which is supposed to be it is. So, and I'm doing this on a piece of, is it gingerbread? I don't think it's gingerbread. What is this? Spice. A piece of Picture This Plus Spice, 16 count Ada. And I switched up the colors some because my fabric is so dark that some of the colors were not showing up. So this is how far I am on this one. So I got the house done, the big part, and most of the border. And it's only as big as this border here, so it's not a real big piece. I'm thinking of making kind of like a little throw pillow to maybe put on the bed or something at Christmas, you know, in the winter time. Let's see. That's my thought on that one anyway. Still have a needle in this one. So that is another whip that I'm going to pull out and get a little bit of work done on. That one. The next one, it will be a new start, and I can't wait to start this one. Oh my gosh. I bought this one. It came out, it was released this year. It's by Brenda Gervais, With Thy Needle and Thread, and it is called Rejoice Evermore. And Lisa Kendrick Stitcher stitched this and finished it already. Blows my mind. So I'm going to do this one. This one has some specialty stitches in it, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I did it on an even weave. And this one is a piece of even weave by Zweigart, 28 count ivory. So I'm just going to do it on ivory. And I have all of the called for threads. So Weeks Dye Works, some Classic Color Works, some Gentle Arts, and a DMC. So I am going to start this one. So let's start number 3, I think. Throw this back in the bag. And then it'll be a whip again. This is a new whip. This is one that, well, actually, this is the Restart whip that I was talking to you guys about. Oops, I hit my metal water bottle. Sorry for that noise. This one is the Snow Village, and it's by Little House Needleworks, Country Cottage Needleworks. I always get the two confused. Country Cottage Needleworks. I've started on this one, the Snowflake Stand. I have all 12 of these, and I had restarted it on this piece of Jody fabric. This is a Lugana. So this is how far I am on this one. So I'm going to pick it up and, you know, get another hour on this one. I had forgotten to have this with me last time, and I was telling you guys that I restarted it because I was working on it on a piece of fabric that I purchased a while back off of Etsy, and I don't remember the Etsy seller, and I'm not going to say any name, but I don't know how this person dyed it, but it has like this really weird coating on it. And I had finished 2 blocks, and I had done it this way. I was going to block it out and do it that way. But I really do not like this fabric. It's kind of got like a rubbery, plasticky kind of coating on the front. The back doesn't have as much of the coating. The back feels regular, like just a regular stiff Aida. But the front has this weird coating, and it kind of is in the holes in the Aida too. So you have to kind of push your needle through it. But I didn't want to throw away these two, but they are really close together. So I'm going to just cut it with a rotary cutter, make a straight cut, you know, in my ruler, and cut out those two, and probably just adhere them down onto like a piece of board, and maybe put some kind of trim around it, and make it maybe some kind of flat fold that I can display at Christmas time. You know, in the winter time, because I don't want to just throw those out. Those are so cute. So I'm going to make some kind of smalls out of these. So I'm going to keep them, and then I think I'm just going to ditch the rest of this fabric because I really don't like it. And so I've restarted it on this one. And this fabric is beautiful, soft, and the whites really pop off of it. Really like it. So that is going to be another whip that I'm going to work on. And then the next will be a new start. This is another one that I kitted up at Salty Yarns. Had the chart, but I wanted to kit it up. And this one is by Barbara Anna. This is another Barbara Anna. I don't have any Barbara Annas on the go, so I'll be starting 2. This one is called Snooty Parrots. Looks like this. And the piece of fabric that I picked out for this one, I think I have nope, take that back. I found a bunch of the called fors, and then I switched some colors. I think this blue one, whatever the blue color was, I couldn't find what was called for. So I picked a different color, deep fennel for sea spray, you know, things like that. So I picked some out of my stash. But these are my colors. And I picked the other to dye for fabric that I ordered off of Etsy, 28 count Lugana. This one's buttercream. So I'm going to do Snooty Parrots on this buttercream, 28 count Lugana. So that is going to be another start. trying to kind of keep these together, but not stuff them all back in the bag. So that I don't make so much noise and waste a lot of time. The next one will be a whip, and this one was given to me by Mickey, sweet friend on my channel here. And this one is a Twin Peak Primitives. This one is called A Patriotic Christmas Eve. Have not gotten too far on this one. I started it in July as a Christmas in July piece, but then I didn't get too far. So I want to pick this one up and work on it some more. I'm doing this one on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color Feldspar. I think it's by Picture This Plus. And I got close to about half of the border done. Feldspar has like a little bit of brown, blue. It's really a pretty piece. This is not going to be a big piece because this is the length of it. The width probably only comes to about here, you know, so it's not a super, super big piece. And I do have some of the border in. Because once I get the border, and I'm over here on the border, you know, I thought then I could start coming in and filling in the insides on this one. So that would be the next whip. And like I said, in an hour, probably not going to get too far, and I'm working on this one with the called for, pretty sure they're all the called for. Sometimes I think they're the called for and they're not. No, they're not. This is what I'm doing. A mess. So these are all my threads. Some of them are Victorian mottos. Some of them that were in my stash. I was just kidding this one from stash. And I had this piece of fabric in my stash, this little piece. So that's what I'm working on with that one. So another whip that will get a little bit of love on that day. And then another new start. This one has been in my kitted stash for probably 2 years. This one is by Bent Creek, and I do not have any Bent Creek that I'm stitching on right now. This one is the Begin Row. Oops, see if I can keep the glare out of it. So a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step. And then it's cool because in the lettering A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, it says begin in bold. And then all those trees. So this one's been kitted for a long time. I'm not sure if this is all the called fors or what I was doing here, but I have some Weeks Dye Works and a Classic Color Work and some DMCs. So these, no, I remember I did have to pull, when I kitted this one, it was COVID, right in the height of COVID when you couldn't hardly get a hold of anything. So I pulled a bunch of threads from my stash for this one. And I have a piece of Picture This Plus, looks like Heritage Aida, to work on this one. It was a cut off. I think I cut this one off of my Blackbird Designs Christmas Garden piece. I think this was it was a long piece of fabric and I didn't need the end of it. So it was a perfect size to do this one on. Kind of a longer, skinnier piece. So that's my Begin Row by Bent Creek. It's going to be another start. And then another whip. Two more whips and another start still. So there's a lot that I'm going to be touching on that day. The next one is Hot Cocoa by Shannon Christine Designs. This one was given to me by my younger daughter on Christmas a couple of years ago. So I really would like to get this one finished. This one is so pretty. This one is being stitched on, looks like Amber Aida, 16 count. And I have, this is a loose thread here. This is how far I am on this one. So I'd like to get this one out and touch on it. Get some more work on it. It's a small one. There's no reason why I shouldn't have this one done, except for the fact that a squirrel all over the place. And I'm using the DMCs, the called for DMCs for that one. Then the last new start is another one that's been kitted in my stash for a couple of years. This one is by Little House Needleworks, and this is called In at Fox River Mill. Looks like this. This one's a little bit deceptively big. I always picture their pieces as being small, but this one is actually 195 by 108. So it's almost 200 stitches wide. So that's a good size, a decent sized piece. I am using most of the called fors and some of the DMC conversion and things like that. Whatever I could pull out of my stashes. Like I said, this was during the height of COVID again, a couple of years ago when I was kitting this one. So I was pulling what I could get my hands on. And then I'm going to use this 16 count lamb's wool Ada by Zweigart. So just this lamb's wool, not an overdye, just a regular fabric, 16 count. And hopefully this color will show up, this kind of beige, ecru, light pink. I think that's just for the skin. So I only put a tiny bit because I think it's only for the skin on this one little guy standing by the inn or by the mill. This dude right here, it's probably just for his skin. So I didn't need much of that. So I think I stole some from a project to put in here. So that's the last new start. And then the last whip that I'll work on from 11 p.m. to midnight is my Little House Needleworks Lantern Lane that I started a couple of years ago. I think this one is being stitched on a 16 count piece of Ada in the color lamb's wool also. This one I had to do a little bit of conversions because, like I said again, couldn't get some of the threads. So I pulled some different colors from this one. And the 16 count piece of Ada in the color lamb's wool. Oops. I still have a white piece of thread hanging. This is where I am. So I got the big house done. I had done my own, took 2 DMC colors and kind of just variegated them in that tree because my pea pods by Classic Colorworks didn't have a lot of variegation in it. And I wanted my tree to have variegation. And I took 2 different colors for the red in the house. I can't remember if they're, I'll have to look at what I have on the floss ring. And I just did a couple of rows in the darker color, a couple of rows in the lighter color, and just repeated that all the way down to make it look like slats in the house, since I didn't have the overdyed. I think this one is, yeah, DMC 355, or maybe, did I have it? Oh yeah, I did have the overdyed, but I didn't have enough. And Lancaster red, and that's all I had left of the Lancaster red. So I took and I just combined the two because I only had 1 skein of this Lancaster red by Weeks Dye Works. And I have 1 little length of thread left. And then I mixed it with DMC 355. And I just did 2 rows of each across to make it look like the house had some slats in it. I was pleased with how that came out and happy with that. So that will be the last one I will work on that evening. That'll take me to midnight of New Year's Eve. So that is my, like I said, that'll be hashtag NYE12X12. So for New Year's Eve 12 by 12. And that's hosted by Kia B and Pam Schaffner. Kia B is on, I think she's Kia B also on Instagram, but I know she's Kia B Flosstube, and Pam Schaffner is Just Keep Stitching on Flosstube and PG Soap on Instagram. So I know if you want to join along, they would be happy to have you guys, and to just use the hashtag on Instagram. And if you watch their channel, they talk about how they will be popping on every few hours. They'll give a schedule when they come out with it, but every few hours on New Year's Eve day, on December 31st, to check in with everybody on Instagram. So, and with the progress that they're doing and everything. So I'm going to join in on that. So my goals, well, first I'm going to tell you guys, You know, at the beginning of the year, I was trying to decide, I know Jen Lee from Quirks and Stitches was doing 222 new starts because this is, her birthday is on February 22nd, and she's turning, I think she turned 40 this year. So she wanted to do something special. So she did, for 222 for February 22nd, she did 222, well, she's working on 222 new starts. I think she's up to 200 and something, so she's getting there. I think she has till her birthday, though, on February 22nd of next year to do all of them. I'm not real sure. You have to watch her channel. So I was kind of like, I could. This year was my big 6-0 birthday. In April, I turned 60. And I thought, well, I could do 60 new starts because I didn't want to do my birthday. I didn't want to do, my birthday is April 17th, so it would have been 417 new whips. I was like, nah, I can't do that. I don't even have 400 things to stitch more. So I thought, well, I could do 60. And I thought, nah, that's way too many. I am not doing 60 new starts. So I looked up how many new starts I did do for the year, and counting these 6 that I'm going to do on New Year's Eve, right before the ball drops, I will have 49 new starts for this year. I might as well have done 60. I mean, 11 more from 49. When I thought that that was just ridiculous crazy, why would I want to start 60? Oh, well, like I said, I squirrel. I have a problem with, I see all the new shiny things I have and I want to stitch on them all. So, I had 49 new starts and I had 4 finishes. 4. Because I start all the new things and I have a million things going. I've stitched a lot, but I haven't finished much. So I'm thinking in the next couple of years, though, my finishes should start to, you know, as things progress and get closer to a finish, I should start having more finishes. Maybe next year I'll have 6 or 7 or 10. And then maybe the following year I'll have 15. And maybe the following year after that I'll have 20. I don't know. You know, as things progress and get more towards the finish line, instead everything's kind of like a new stitch in the last couple of years. So besides the one smalls exchange I did for StitchCon this year, I only had 4 finishes, and I'm going to show those to you really quick. This first one is by Plum Street Samplers, and it's called Summer Delivery. I don't remember. This is a 16 count Aida. It's a nice soft Aida, but it's not over dyed. And it's just a blue Aida. I can't remember. I want to say Country French Rain, something like that. So this was I finished this at StitchCon, and I gave the chart to a young lady who was sitting at the table next to me that said, oh, I really love that piece. That's one of the ones I want to get. And I said, well, if I finish this here, you can have my chart. So I gave her my chart. So I don't have the chart to show you, but I mean, this is the finished piece. I think I used all of the called for colors, but I don't think I changed anything on this one. So that was finish number 1. A second thing that I finished this year, this one's on a stiffer Aida. This was one that I started way back when I first got back into stitching in like 2019 or the beginning of 2020, the end of 19. This was, I think this is Country Cottage Needleworks. I always get Country Cottage and Little House Needleworks mixed up. But this is Home of a Needleworker. This is on probably lamb's wool. It looks like Aida or white chocolate. It might be white chocolate because lamb's wool is this one, and it's a little bit, looks like it might be a tiny tad darker. Not sure. But it's just a plain beige stiff 16 count Aida. And I used, I believe, all of the called for this one. So this was a second finish that I had for the year. A third finish I had is on another stiff piece of Aida. And this one is 16 count Beach Walk. Ada, and it is by Little House Needleworks or Country Cottage Needleworks. I get the two confused every single time. And I have given away the chart, so I can't. I gave away both of these charts on my channel, so I can't look up. But this one was called the Snow Sampler. And the last finish that I had for the year was another one I finished at StitchCon. And this one I had purchased at Keepsakes at StitchCon the previous year with my friends Cindy and Madeline. And we were all working on it together. And we all wanted to finish it at StitchCon this year. And we all did. Madeline was not able to attend StitchCon, but she still finished hers at home. And we all finished it together. But this is a Quaker study by Carriage House Samplings. Kathy Barrick. Let me put something behind it. And I used a piece of Threadworks. Sorry, baby. She gets scared when you hit the chair. And she was laying on the chair by me, the ottoman. So I was using a Threadworks. It's a variegated thread. I don't remember the color number, but it's a variegation that has some tans that go to kind of green. And I put beads in instead of all the little ninja stitches that are all around here in the middle. Those are all beads. So I used some Mill Hill beads there that are kind of a copper color. And this piece of fabric is by Fiber on a Whim, All the Things. Just a lightly modeled kind of tan fabric. And that was the other finish I had this year. That is it. Those are all the finishes I had. Not that many. I did finish all my Whip Go goals. I got 4 things finished and got lots of progress on a lot of things, but not a lot of finishes. So does that wrap up all my goals? Oh, so I also wanted to tell you in those 49, with the 49 new starts I'll have this year, because I have 43 and I got 6 more that I'm going to start the last day of the year. That puts me to a total of, and this is within 1 or 2 numbers, because I'm thinking, you know, the sheet that I'm keeping track of all my whips, I'm pretty sure I have everything listed. But that would give me a total of 128 whips right now. 128. I remember at one time I said, oh, if I get to 100, that's like, woof, that'd be my stopping point. So never say never with me. I've learned that in my life. Don't ever say never. I say I highly doubt, but I don't ever say never. 12 of those, though, are ancient whips. Those are ones that I started way back in like the 90s or the very early 2000s, like in 2001, 2002. A lot of those are lavender and lace, my angels and stuff. If you've seen my whip parade that I did back in May for my 1-year Flosstube anniversary, you will see all my whips that I had up until that point. And now I've added however many more, 20, 30 more since then. So, and I will do, my plans is to do another whip parade next May. I started my channel in May of 2021. I've been doing this for about 1.5 years. And I kicked off my channel with a whip parade where I showed everything that I had, because I thought I don't have much that I don't have a lot of finishes to show, but I can show you all the whips that I have going at the time. And then that also gave you an idea of the flavor of the type of stitching I do, which is pretty eclectic. I do mirabilias, lavender and lace, fancy people. I do reproduction samplers. I do newer samplers. I do cute little pieces. Whatever I like, whatever I feel like stitching on is what I stitch on. So I don't have a set kind of thing. I'm not just a reproduction sampler stitcher. I'm not just a mirabilia stitcher. I'm all over the place. So 12 of those are ancient whips. So in May, I will do another whip go. I mean, that's my plan. to do another whip parade and show everything that I have going on. So if right now I have 128, because part of what I'm going to work on next year, and I touched on this last week where I said I'm going to still work on a WIPGO board. So I have a WIPGO board. I just write them on a sheet of paper. I have a WIPGO board number 1 because I'm going to do 2. And I have right now, I'm going to try to do 12 hours on each piece. We'll see. I did 10 this year. I wanted at least 10. I'm going to try to do 12. And then I put in generic, like I said, samplers, so if number 1 gets pulled, I'll pick out of my samplers that I have, which one I feel like working on that month. I have Plum Street, I have Mirabilia Nora Corbett, I have TPP as Twin Peak Primitives, LNL is Lavender and Lace, HR are my hawk runs. I have, I think, 5 hawk runs on the go right now. And it repeats. I think that's mostly what I have on there. So when the numbers get called, I will pick from that category and put those in there and then stitch on those for my goal, 12 hours. Then I had mentioned that I was thinking of doing a second WIPGO board, and I did. I have one made up now. This is WIPGO board number 2. Goal, again, still 12 hours. And this one, I put down new starts or really big pieces that I just want to get some more work done on. So this one's a little bit more specific on the pieces, like Elizabeth Weston. That's my Hands Across the Sea sampler that I started for my birthday back in April. She's a really big girl, so she needs some love. And then I have 9 new starts in here. Like number 1 is a new start, number 3 is a new start. There are 9 on this board. I am going to try, except for my New Year's Eve piece, my New Year's Day piece, I mean. On New Year's Day, my New Year New Start is going to be Royal Holiday by Mirabilia, and I showed her on my last video last week. I'm going to start her, and I'm going to call it hashtag Royal New Year, I think is what I said. Hashtag Royal New Year. And I'm going to start on her. She's going to be my New Year New Start. But other than that, I only want to have 9 other new starts next year. If I can do that, that'll keep my whips down to under 150. I'm hoping to get, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 finishes next year. We'll see. Because some of my small ones, like Lantern Lane and Baby It's Cold Outside, if I can get working on those won't, and Hot Cocoa, those aren't going to take that much longer to do. And I have my Prairie Schooler Village sampler that I showed last week. That's getting near to a finish. So maybe I can have 7 or 8, maybe 10 finishes next year. If I can get 10 finishes and only do 10 new starts, my number won't jump. It'll stay. That'd be kind of nice because I don't mind having a lot of whips, but at the same time, I don't want to overextend myself where I have so many going on that nothing ever gets, that they call to me way too much. And I get scattered and I'm thinking, I want to work on this, but I want to work on that. I want to work on that. I want to work on that. So I'm trying to maybe zero and focus in on some. I'm going to also still continue to use my little calendar book here that I got off of Amazon. This is for 2022 and 2023. I had added tabs. So I have tabs for all this year and then a different set of tabs for next year. I had the colorful ones and then I had these. So for next year, I've already kind of plugged in, like in January, Jen Lee is doing the 24 hours of cross stitch on January 20th to 22nd. Yeah, I can't read backwards. So I kind of plugged that in over here to kind of keep in mind that in January, I want to participate in the 24 hours of cross stitch if I can. I kind of was thinking, playing with the idea, it's on just a sticky note, it's not written in stone, but doing a Fancy Folk February where I work on Mirabilia's Lavender and Lace, Nora Corbett's that month. Try to focus on those, things like that. So in April, there'll be another 24 hours of cross stitch. So I just kind of have penciled in a couple of my retreats that I have coming up. and in the new year, and the 24-hour cross stitch things. And when my whip go numbers get called, I'll write those in here. But other than that, I'm not planning a whole lot. I've got my 2 whip go boards that I want to see if I can black these out for the year. That would be the goal on these 2. And then I'm playing with the idea of trying to have a focus piece each month. Something that maybe I try to work on 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, maybe every morning when I'm home, having a cup of coffee or something, having it be my morning stitch. I don't know. I'm playing with the idea of trying that for the new year so that I have a piece that maybe I can get some good work on each month. So we'll see. But that was it. That was it. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me this year, supporting my channel, supporting me, giving me wonderful comments, wonderful feedback. I love you all. You guys are so, so wonderful. And so I wish you guys the best in the happy New Year, happy holiday season. I wish you the best for 2023. And this will probably be the last one I do for this year, because we only have a couple of weeks left, and I have company coming in just a few days, and they'll be here for probably, I don't know, like a week and a half, maybe a couple of days before the new year they may be heading out. So I'm going to have a house full, and when I do get together with family, we play cards, we play games. I've got gingerbread village kit that I'm going to let the grandkids just go wild and make gingerbread houses when they're here. So I got a lot going on probably for the rest of the month. So I wanted to show you my progress this past week, because there's probably not going to be that much. I've got gift wrapping still to do. I got a little bit of Christmas shopping still to do, some house cleaning to do, all before my company gets here in 3 or 4 days they start arriving. So and then, like I said, they'll be here till after Christmas, a few days after Christmas before they head home. So I've got a lot of plans going, and I wish you guys the best, and hope to see you guys in the new year. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and wishing you all the best and sending you guys so much love. I love you guys. Bye-bye.